think we are on.
All right, we are on. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Limitless episode number 8. Talking about the law of faith. Gotta have faith. This literally reminds me of the Limp Bizkit song, Gotta Have Faith. I just screaming it the whole time.
Isn't that George Michael?
Yeah, I think Limp Bizkit redid it when I was like a teenager, and that's the only song that I was like, gotta have faith. So that's what we're talking about today, is law of faith. We're not talking about Limp Bizkit anymore, I assure you. So before we dive into it, though, if you're new here, my name is Logan Manzanares. I'm a business owner, I'm a fitness professional, transformed well over 2,000 people's lives through this little thing we call health and fitness, real estate investor, a husband, a father, and one of the most grateful people on this planet. And today I'm joined with two studs, Mr. John Bodnar and Mr. Tim Cruz here, and we're going to dive deep into the law of faith. But before we do, I'm going to have them give a little blip on who they are, because they are studs. So John, go ahead, my friend.
All right, as Logan said, my name is John Bodnar, and I am a coach at BSB Wealthy Body Coaching. So my primary focus is helping people take action, becoming the best versions of themselves, primarily through health and fitness, but of course, using all of those skill sets and tools to transform your life in many, many ways. And the way I would describe the transformation is turning from someone who doesn't take action or finds it scary to turning into someone who loves taking action.
Love it. I love it. All right, Tim, who are you?
Such a deep question. What's up, guys? I'm Coach Tim, another coach with BSB Wealthy Bodies. Self-proclaimed meathead, love picking heavy stuff up and setting it back down multiple times. I'm also a Limp Bizkit fan, so apparently I don't have anything to talk about now. We can't talk about Limp Bizkit anymore. But either way, I'm excited and pumped. My passion is really helping people manifest their best, strongest, healthiest, wealthiest version of themselves. That's what really fills my cup and gets me going in the morning.
All right, fellas, let's dive into episode 8, the law of faith. So what is the law of faith? The law of faith states that is the foundation to all action leading to creation. Without faith, we have no power to act. As conscious creators, we work with complete faith to manifest our desires. We act on that faith with courage without requiring evidence from our past. And so basically, I'm going to break this down real simply, right? Number one, we create what happens in our lives, and we do that first in our minds before it happens in our hands. And so to encourage the law of faith, like, you must act without evidence. And that's really what the law of faith is being able to act without actually seeing the evidence that you can do it. Anyway, that's my quick interpretation of it. And so, Tim, I'll let you go and piggyback on that.
Yeah, so honestly, the law of faith, or just faith in general, if we think kind of like the conscious creation path, what we manifest starts with our beliefs. And I would say beliefs and faith are mutually, like, they're synonymous with one another. Our beliefs / faith dictate our thoughts, which dictate our actions, which dictate our results. So we're literally starting at the core today, right at the belief level, which I believe is, oh, there he is again. The belief that is super, super impactful, or at least fundamental to getting the results that you want out of life.
Awesome. Love that. John?
Yeah, taking it more to the foundation of action. I think that's a really, that's the word I'm looking for, epiphanal statement right there, that faith is foundation to action. Because if you're someone who struggles to take action, especially actions that you know you should or need to take, but you find yourself not, the odds are pretty good that it's either you don't believe that action is going to help you, or that you have the ability to follow through on those actions. So by having faith that it is something that you can do and should do, makes it a lot easier to act. You just have to realize that.
100%. I love it. All right, well, let's keep going here. There's going to be lots of good little nuggets to go on here. So conscious creators work with complete faith that they can manifest their desires. They act on that faith with courage, despite having little or no evidence from their past accomplishments. They have the ability to move forward with confidence, even in spite of counter evidence, right? And so this is really cool, because ultimately it's like, okay, if you have a fresh plate, let's say, and like, we have almost a naivety, being naive. Sometimes you just don't know the problems that you're going to face. So you almost had like this optimism, uninformed optimism. That's what I'm looking for, right? That you're just not sure what's in front of you. And a lot of people have that, which is great, right? Like you actually need that to get started. But it's really when you face that first obstacle, that first challenge where something happened that you didn't think was going to happen, you weren't aware of, and all of a sudden you're like, that faith starts to waver a little bit, right? And so this is where the true law of faith comes in, is your ability to keep pushing, even when you start to see evidence of what you're doing isn't working the way you thought it was going to work, right? It's not going exactly the way as you had envisioned it in your mind. And now this is actually testing your faith. And what is testing, though, is not the faith in the process, it's really testing your faith in yourself. And so that's how I see this slide really being played out as a true law of faith, is being able to push forward even without, like, so it's not just without evidence, but when you have counter evidence as well. So now you have to have you're facing a challenge, and you have to overcome that challenge and continue to push forward, even when maybe everyone's telling you not to, or that literally everyone says that it can't be done. You're able to continue to push forward. So John, I'll let you piggyback on that statement.
Sure. So a really really good example of this type of situation where you are losing faith. Let's say you're doing a weight loss program and you're doing everything right. You're following all the steps. You're eating the plan. You're doing your workouts, but you're still not losing weight. And at that point, it can be really easy to be like, well, clearly, like, either the program's not working, or clearly, my body, like, I just can't lose weight. And so if you allow yourself to act without faith that you are doing the right things, that you're taking the right steps, that you are going to get there, then what'll happen is you develop these brand new limiting beliefs, or you expand upon old ones that you have already had. And ultimately, you're going to be right. You're not going to lose weight. The program isn't going to work for you because you don't have the faith that you are the one who can make it happen, despite not losing more than a couple pounds right now.
Yeah. And I think the important thing to kind of take from that as well is that it's your choice to believe that, and it's your choice to continue to look for evidence, to continue just to have faith, right? And it's that choice, really isn't that choice that you make that decision whether you're going to be successful or not. Are you going to believe that story? And if you do, does it serve you? Right? Or it's I got to continue to have faith. I know I can do it. Maybe it just takes me longer, right? So these are literally the little stories you tell yourself that allow you to continue your faith, continue down the path, which ultimately, is I think everyone understands on some level that is quitting ever going to allow you to get to your goal.
No.
Right? And so why is that always an option? Seriously, why is it an option? That's actually a question you should ask yourself. And once you establish that, then it makes it really easy to continue to have faith, because well, I guess I might as well keep going, because it's the only way I'm going to get to where I want to go. So, Tim, anyway, any further comments on that inability to see past obstacles?
So I think what you said was spot on. And generally, at least what I see is when someone doesn't have faith, whether it's conscious or unconscious, they are looking for evidence to support their lack of faith. And to the contrary, if someone does have faith, I'm sure we've all met people that just have what you would call unfounded faith. Where do you get that from, bro? Where is that coming from? And those people are very attractive for multiple reasons. But that type of mentality, the person that has ultimate, true faith in that they will make it to whatever their desired outcome is, they start looking for evidence, consciously and unconsciously, evidence that they are going to achieve whatever goal that they're out for. So I think starting with faith or belief is so fundamental, because our brain essentially, without us even knowing, it runs on autopilot, collecting evidence to support whatever you believe. So if you don't have faith, you're going to be collecting evidence that you will fail. And if you do have faith, you will be collecting evidence that you will succeed. And ultimately, the only time anybody ever fails is when they quit, when they stop trying. So, and the only reason you would do that is if you don't think you can do it.
Yeah. And I think it's important to also define conscious creators, because we've seen that in the last 2 slides already. And so the difference between a conscious creator and an unconscious creator is somebody who is consciously living their life by design rather than default, right? And so basically that means that you actually questioning your decisions, questioning why you do things, understanding why you do what you do, why you say the words you do, why you do the action that you do. That's a conscious creator. An unconscious creator is what also most people are running on autopilot, basically, as you know, as Tim has talked about, and they're not conscious of their thoughts, they're not conscious of their decisions, not conscious of their words. And so when you're not conscious, well, of course, it becomes really easy to lose faith because you're just not aware of it. And so being really like going back to the root of this, like you must believe that you are in control of your life. You must have control, because if you give away control, if you believe things happen to you rather than things happen because of you, like none of this is going to make sense. So I think that needs to be fundamentally said. So that's good. Yeah. You want to piggyback on that? Anything else you want to say about?
Yeah, I think you brought up one thing that I think is pretty crucial, is the difference between a victim mentality and a hero mentality. So I think keeping that in mind, like victim mentality always steals our power. Hero mentality always reclaims our power.
Awesome. And so this law actually goes very hand in hand with the law of attraction, which we did in earlier episode on. And so like this actually gives power to law of attraction, and it's literally just like having that unwavering faith that you will achieve things long before you actually achieve them. So Tim, what does it mean to you that the law of faith gives the law of power, that basically like it gives power to the law of attraction?
Oh, 100%. Like the law of faith is, like, I would say, a prerequisite to the law of attraction. And in the way that kind of works itself out or fleshes itself out is when you start with that true belief that you can do stuff. Kind of like I said before, you start collecting evidence that you will succeed. And the other thing you start attracting is opportunities and people that will help you succeed, whether it be mentors or friends, or let's talk about fitness, coaches, training partners, people that are on the same journey as you, that are interested in the same things that you are. And at the highest level, people that want to succeed and have that belief in themselves the same way you do. So you start attracting around your type of people. And if your type of people are those that are success-minded, hero mentality, that lends itself right to the law of attraction.
It's fine. I love it. John, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, Tim defined it nicely. The slide says it really concisely, but it's just to reiterate, like, yes, if you are willing to believe and you choose to believe, you will attract your life, and you will find evidence that you are right, and positive things will happen, not to you, but you will make positive things happen in your life. It truly is. It's essential, right, Tim, to have that faith and be willing to attract these things into your life as well. So just mostly going back to the part of it being conscious, is like having faith is a conscious thing. It is something that you have to say, like, yes, I know I'm going to get here. I know I'm on my way. I know I've already gotten here in other areas, and having the courage to stick to that faith.
Yeah. And like to like give like an example would be like, okay, I believe I can lose weight, right? I believe I can lose weight. And then how we take that with law of attraction, now we're starting to look for ways like, how can, like, okay, so if I know John, like I'm gonna go maybe connect with John because I know he like helps people lose weight. And so now I'm gonna go like seek out John for mentorship, right? And then instead of when I go to the grocery store, instead of doing my normal lap, I just go straight down the center, you know, of the grocery store and buy the chips and the cereal and things like that. It's like I'm actually going to start going around the outside of the grocery store, right? Like simple little things like that is like as you start to believe in yourself, you start to like look for opportunities to make this thing come a reality. And that's like, all those little things sound small. That's actually what it is you just looking for evidence. You're trying to find evidence. You're trying to create evidence that I can actually lose weight. I can actually do this, right? And that's really what it stems from. So let's talk about unconscious creators. Now we can talk about conscious creators. Now it's about unconscious creators, right? So this is basically somebody who just lives by default. Like the world just happens to them. They operate from a perspective of they will believe it when they see it, right? And so this idea of going through life hoping that something will become true without actually believing it will keep you stuck. Why is that?
That's a big question, Logan, but the main reason is because of something we've touched on already, is if you don't believe it, we don't want to be wrong. Our brain does not want to be wrong. So we will find every reason in the world or all the evidence in the world to prove ourselves correct, and correct in the sense that we won't achieve it. So if you don't believe that you're going to lose weight, you're just waiting for it to happen to you, but deep down you don't believe that it's ever going to happen, then you're going to find yourself overeating, or you're going to be making wrong food choices. But because it's going to feel congruent to your subconscious, even though it's not getting you to where you desire to be, it is getting you where you believe you deserve to be or have to be.
Tim?
Yeah, I think like when we put this into like real world examples tactfully, let's talk weight loss, just because weight loss tends to be our viewership here. There's going to be some hard days for sure. Everybody, whether you've done this for 10 years or this is your first time trying to go on a diet, you're going to run into days that just are not sunshines and rainbows. Like some days you're going to wake up tired. You're not going to want to go to the gym. You're not going to want to exercise. You're not going to want to eat healthy. You're going to go to a birthday party or an event or some work thing where there's going to be donuts on the table and you're going to have crazy cravings. And if you don't think you're going to be successful, let's just start with the belief. If you, for whatever reason, believe that this isn't for you, like you'll never be successful, what stops you from giving into those temptations? Like, honestly, like if you didn't think you were going to be successful, why deal with the pain? Why deal with the uncomfortability of being hungry or being tired or being sore the next day after a hard workout? Why go through that if you don't think that you'll be successful? Now, if you, on the flip side, if you have that ultimate faith, all you see it is it's just temporary, because really all those things are temporary uncomfortabilities, whether it's hunger, whether it's fatigue, whether it's, gosh, this is going to take like 6 to 8 months to get to my goal. Those are all those just fleeting emotions that if you have belief on the other side of that, of like, if I just get through this 20 minutes of this craving, I'll be fine. You're going to push through it. But if you don't have that, why would you even want to push through it? So I think you set yourself up for failure when you don't have belief in yourself.
Yeah. It definitely changes your actions, right? Because if you don't believe in it, then you're not going to be afforded the effort necessary to make the change. And so what I actually see in this situation a lot is the way that people will speak about it and like, hey, like, of course, like when I'm at my goal, or when I have abs, or when I'm here, then I'll start doing this. Then I'll start eating healthy. Then when I go to my kid's birthday party, then of course I'm not going to have the ice cream cake, duh, right? It's like, you need to do those things here in order to get there, right? And that's what it is, but you have to believe that you're going to get there, but it starts today. Like you must become that person today in order for you to be there tomorrow. And so it's living as if. It's living as if you are a person who is at your goal weight today. Like, what does that person do? What kind of decision-making process does that person make? What does that person say? What's that person do? Like, if you actually think about it from that lens, you look at it from like a third-party perspective, guess what it allows you to do? It's like, you should just do those things, but not in 6 months. You should do them today. Mm-hmm. Boom. That's what you do. It's really that simple.
I think it calls really heavily to identity. Like your belief literally is the construct of your identity. And when you identify with, I don't know if you remember like the bracelets, what would Jesus do? But like, what would a fit person do? Right? Like it literally is those actions that dictate being fit. So if you don't have the belief, you don't have the identity, you're always going to act the law of alignment. You're always going to act in accordance with your identity. So if you have an identity of, I'm not a fit person, I just do fit things sometimes, mm-hmm. He's going to struggle with not being consistent. So you have to start with I am a fit person. I'm in the process of losing weight, but I am a fit person. Therefore, I identify and I do the things that fit people do.
Exactly. And it's funny you said that with the bracelets. I have 2 bracelets on, right? And these are literally my mantras that I wake up to and I turn them every single day. You know, everything goes my way and show up on this one. And this one is, my effort is worth it and I believe in me, right? These are my mantras that basically enable me to believe in myself today. And so, even though I haven't achieved the goals that I want to achieve yet in my life, like I believe that I'm there today. Like I am that person today because I believe in me, and like all the effort I'm putting into it right now, it's worth it, right? It's like, those are mine personally. Like yours is going to be different, but ultimately, like it's just what Tim said right there. Is like you must have that belief, that identity in yourself today, in order for you to achieve what you want tomorrow. But it literally does serve it today. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if we play the willpower game, willpower is a very finite currency. It'll always run.
Exactly. That's why the idea of like running out of motivation or running out of willpower is like, it's garbage, because ultimately like it's a finite resource, right? Whereas belief, identity, like those are things that like stick. Like that is something that's sustainable. And that's why we preach identity shift rather than like motivational shift. You just need more motivation.
Yeah, because to be clear, like it doesn't require motivation or willpower to act in accordance with your identity. That's the easy.
Money.
So that's why that identity shift is so important, because you're not going to run out of that.
And that's why we are wealthy bodies, right? That's why we do that. That's why anybody who's part of our culture, like we're wealth bodies, so you can identify as that person today. Not in 6 months when you hit your goal, but today. You identify so you make the right decisions today. And then all of a sudden you're like, I'm a wealthy body, so it makes it really easy for you to make those right decisions.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. And so this one is really cool, right? So we talked a little bit about this, we touched on it a little bit earlier, but like the law of faith actually starts in your brain, right? And so what unconscious creators say is they will only believe it when they see it, right? Where conscious creators, they believe it before they see it. And you know where they believe it first? In the brain. That's where it all starts. And so I actually had a conversation, I think, with John about this. Is like, you actually see it in your brain, then you believe it, and then you see it in the real world. And so the active visualization, actually spending time on it, if you actually listen to any like successful person, they always talk about visualization. Like let's use Tony Robbins, because he's probably the most well-known like guru out there for personal development and things like that. He talks a lot about visualizing and being able to like try to be in the moment and experience as much as you can, and like you basically create these memories and you're like trying to get as like detailed as you possibly can. You basically run this story through your head of what's going to happen, and you just believe it. Right? You obviously start to believe, you start to sense, you start to believe it, you start to envision it. And we talked about this in one of the previous episode, maybe it was the law of attraction, is that our brain actually doesn't know the difference between what happens like in our real world versus the stories we make up in our head, which usually hurts us, right? Which is why we do a lot of limiting, why we do breakthrough work, is we have these limiting beliefs, these things these stories we tell ourselves that actually like did not happen, but we created them, but they affect all of our actions, right? And so the same thing though can happen positively. You have to be a conscious creator, right? You starting to hear this word a lot. You have to be a conscious creator, and conscious creators, they sit there and they visualize it and they see it. They literally see it in their mind. And all of a sudden they start to believe that, because they start to feel this, they start to feel the sensation, start to feel the feelings, they start to smell it, taste it, touch it. And then all of a sudden they start to open their eyes and start to like believe it actually happened. And so if you believe it happened, law of faith, now you start to see evidence of it. Like, oh, like I see this happening, right? And all of a sudden you live as if, which I believe is actually the next slide. But anyway, that's my interpretation of this, is like you must actually see it in your mind. That's what visualizing is. And so this the whole point of the story is spending time every day to visualize is a game changer. I truly believe it's one of the most powerful things you can do, is sit in space and visualize what you want in your life. Mm-hmm. So your turn, John. Go ahead and take over on your maybe even your experience with visualization.
For sure. So whenever my most powerful visualization is actually at the very end of my breakthroughs, my daily breakthroughs. And I started doing this relatively recently. But what it is now is, okay, I have my new beliefs, right? Things like, I take action, or I do whatever it takes. Not only do I say those things out loud and proud, but now each time I say them, usually the last time I say them and give myself the space to visualize what that actually looks like. So if I'm sitting here creating this new belief that I always take action, then I imagine a scenario. Usually it's like a really conflicting scenario, or a very specific one where I'm struggling to take action with it. I'm like, okay, so I'm encountering this problem, and then I see myself actually overcoming the problem and doing it. And then therefore I have this experience of overcoming a struggle and taking action when I didn't want to, or when it felt like I couldn't. And it makes it a lot easier to take action the next time. And so you can do that for any new belief that you have. Create new experiences for yourself that your brain doesn't know didn't actually happen. And therefore you can act on those beliefs. You just have to have the faith to trust that the visualization is actually accomplishing that.
So I think most people can relate to this on the wrong side, the negative side. So I'll give you an example. So right before I opened up my gym back in Reno, I worked for a guy. His name was Rob, and he owned a company called Sierra Strength and Speed. And I was one of his independent contractors. I had built a very good business there within his walls. And when it came time to strike out on my own, I knew I had to have a conversation with him to tell him that, hey, like, I'm leaving. And I played it over and over in my head, like in the most negative possible way. Like, and literally as I was about to go talk to him, I had a strong, like very visceral sensation of dread. Like I hated it. I didn't want to go talk to him. And it was literally, I like to use the phrase, making mountains out of molehills. So I had created this monster that literally all it was a conversation. Like, hey, I rented a place. I'm going to, take my people over there, and you can be mad or not mad, like whatever. Your response is not my responsibility. I just have to be upfront and honest with you. But I remember that time so clearly, because I went from having no anxiety to this severe anxiety before, like, just crossing that threshold and actually having the conversation. So that's the negative side. The positive side, like Logan said, almost every single top performer in their field, you will hear them talk about visualization. And there's a reason. Like, success leaves clues. It's true. And one of my favorite stories from the positive side is a guy named Terrell Owens. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but he was a wide receiver for the Niners for a really long time. And they were playing the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs. And Terrell Owens had dropped like 4 balls in the game. And they were driving. There was like back and forth, really close game. And as time was expiring, whoever the quarterback was at the time threw a touchdown pass through like 3 or 4 defenders. And Terrell Owens caught it, touchdown, they win, they go to the Super Bowl. So everybody was really happy. But then they interviewed him after the game. And he said literally every single day before that game, he would sit for an hour in darkness before the practice or before whatever meeting. He was solitude, complete silence, and he would literally hold a football and look at it. And just literally he envisioned that exact scenario happening over and over and over again, to the point where he could hear the noise of the crowd. He could smell the whatever the football smelled like, the leather. He could feel it in his hands. He could feel the sensation of winning, of catching that game-winning touchdown. Like, it became so visceral that when it happened, like he didn't have to think about it. So if you contrast those two, he created a mountain out of a molehill on the good side, and that created top performing success, versus most of us create this mountain out of a molehill of our fears and our anxieties. And we end up not taking action and doing the thing because we've already went through it in our head and it's played out miserably. So there's a lot of power in visualization if you know how to use it.
Steve Young. Steve Young's quarterback.
It was Jeff Kelly. It was the quarterback after Steve Young.
I remember seeing that. I think I remember seeing that pass.
Yeah, it was a big one.
Yeah,
I was a huge Niners fan back then, so it was like I was hooping and hollering.
I just literally remember that pass. So not to get too far off topic, I guess I was wrong with the quarterback, but I do remember the pass. I remember the catch. It was crazy. All right. So another piece. Okay. So the only one I want to add to this too is, and this is something that I found, is that when I visualize this and actually smile, actually bring even a little bit extra emotion to it. So like actually like putting it like smiling, like people talk about that. When you're talking on the phone with somebody, like they can tell when you're smiling or not, right? I'm sure you guys have all heard that, but like it adds that extra element of like energy. And when you smile while you're visualization, it just ultimately makes you feel better, makes you like truly believe that you can have it happen. And so that's also something that I like to do, is like the smile while I'm doing my visualizations, and like just like truly like being happy in the moment, like trying to get as many of the senses into it as I possibly can. So if you've tried visualization before and like your brain goes scattered, or maybe you just don't like get you just don't feel it, try that. Try smiling. Do that. Like try smiling, do smiling, and that seemed to help me anyway. So, all right. So now let's talk about law of faith, belief breakthrough. Right? How do we use the breakthrough process with law of faith? And so Tim talked about this a lot, and this is it's important to be said over and over again. But the more in line with the truth your beliefs are, the greater faith you will have, right? And so you're going to create new beliefs that are going to feel like a lie, right? And so let's say that you have limiting beliefs, right? So let's actually stay on this first sentence. So the more in line with truth your beliefs are, the greater faith you'll have, which basically both of you guys actually talked about is that, like, if you don't truly believe that you can lose 35 pounds, the faith in order for you to be able to like execute the nutrition, the exercise, the accountability, the obstacles, the challenges, the kids, the job, like all of a sudden that seems insurmountable because you're just not really sure if you can actually do it, right? So it's like, is your effort worth it, right? Or is it going to be just like every other time that you failed, right? And so this is where the belief breakthrough work comes in, is number one, you have to understand, okay, why do I think that? Like, why do I think my effort is not worth it? Why do I think that I'm going to fail? What am I afraid of actually, right? And you're able to actually get to the root of what this limiting belief is. And then you're going to create new beliefs. And here's the scary part, especially when it comes to law of faith, is that you're not going to see any evidence of that person, right? You're not going to see any evidence of this person who you need to be in order for you to actually get to this goal, right? It's going to feel like a lie. You're like, but I'm not consistent. What are you talking about? Like, I can't make it 3 days. Like, what do you mean I'm consistent? And so ultimately, it's your choice. So it's your choice to believe that, because it just is, like, it really just is your choice. It's like, I'm not a consistent person. So this goes back to the law of alignment. Okay, you will not be a consistent person, right? I'm a consistent person. You truly are able to embody that. You're able to believe that. Just do things that show evidence of you being a consistent person, right? But it starts with your belief in your faith first, right? And so it's going to feel like a lie. But because you literally have no prior evidence of you ever being, let's say in this example, being consistent, right? Here's the secret. Like I already said, it's to move forward without any evidence. That's what law of faith is that you basically create something that hasn't been created before, and you just have to believe it to be true. So, Tim, you want to follow on that piece of the breakthrough process and understanding what it's like to have like limiting belief, and then obviously coming on to the point of like gotta have faith, right? Look, this is, you gotta have faith.
So first off, we exercise faith every single day. And I think it's important for everybody to understand that we exercise faith. Every time you sit down on a chair, like I'm sitting down on right now, you are exercising faith. I don't know who made this chair. I don't know how they put it together, but I trust that when I sit on it, it's not going to collapse and fall underneath me. And the reason I have that much faith is because I've sat on this chair thousands and thousands of times, not this specific one, but chairs that I didn't know their manufacturer or their creator. I didn't know who did it, but I trusted that they did a good job. And only a few times did they ever let me down. That's a joke. But either way, what I'm trying to get at, my overarching point is that the reps build the trust. But you have that first rep really does take some cojones. It really does take faith, because ultimately you don't know what's going to happen, but it's a self-perpetuating cycle. So let's say Mrs. Jones was using an avatar, wants to lose 35 pounds, has struggled and failed multiple times in the past. She's tried every diet under the sun, but she needs to lose weight. Absolutely. So when she, let's say, joins our program, starts on the process, she might not have a whole heck of a lot of faith. So our job as mentors and coaches is obviously to let her borrow some of our faith. Let her steal some of our faith, because we do trust the process. We know it's going to work. But as Mrs. Jones loses those first 5 pounds, that's akin to sitting on the chair for the first few times. Like, oh, it's working. It is working. My faith is growing. And then once she hits her goal, she should have ultimate faith in the process, or at least in herself, in being able to do, to reach the end. And the cool thing about faith, the cool thing about trusting yourself, is it's permeating to other aspects of your life. So if you can, let's say you got through college, like you went through college, it was a struggle. Everybody struggles going through college. There are obstacles you come up against, but you finished, you graduated. You can borrow that faith to say, well, I did this. I have the ability to see this through. Therefore, I must be able to have the ability to see this other thing through. So I think it's important to think of faith, for one, as a process. It's not an on and off switch. It's something that we build over time, but it also is possible to borrow faith from other aspects of our life. And if we don't have those, borrow from other people that have been successful in the same realm.
That's smart. I love that. That's something that I love to do personally, and I'll let John kind of piggyback on that before I kind of share some of my experiences with borrowing belief from myself in other areas. But John, if you want to do that too, go for it.
Yeah, I was going to say not to steal your thunder
No,
there,
go for
but
it. No, go for it.
my best example of that is when I first started working out. I failed a couple of times, but it was more so out of disinterest rather than like, oh, I don't think I can be a muscular person. But then when I decided to take the step, and I did believe like, okay, I can become a muscular person, I can be a fit person, I can do these things. I haven't looked back, and I'm very blessed for that. I'm blessed that I started with that faith because it's something that has gotten me very far. But then when I started to get into other goals of mine, whether it's financial goals or a healthy marriage or being a good coach, even like when I started to have struggles with those and I didn't have evidence that I could be great at those things, something that Logan actually suggested was like, use your fitness. It's something that like hasn't wavered. It's something you've gone that you've been doing for a long time. You've been successful with it. Like use that as evidence that you can succeed in all these other areas as well. So draw parallels, even sit down and draw specific parallels. Like, yeah, there are days that I don't feel like going to the gym. Even now, there are days where I don't feel like going. I still go. And there are going to be days when I don't feel like being a good coach, but I can still be a good coach. It's always possible to find that evidence somewhere, or belief rather, not evidence per se, but find evidence somewhere, or belief, that it does exist. You are capable. You just have to draw those parallels and be willing to see it.
It's funny because for the longest time, I used to use the word blueprint because fitness has always been something that I like. It's definitely a calling of mine, 100% since I was 16, since the moment I started lifting weights. It's been a calling and something I knew that is how I was going to serve the world. And so I always use it as I always used to say it's like my blueprint, like how I became successful in fitness is my blueprint, how I can be successful with business, or I can be successful in relationships, how I can be successful as a husband, a father. And like I always use the word blueprint, but as I learn more and more about myself and learn more and more about my decision making process, it really was just like I was able to gain some success in this one area, which gave me the belief in myself that I could be successful in other areas. Right? It gave me the faith of not knowing that that I could be successful in business, but because I had the faith in myself from fitness, I was able to like borrow that to put it into business. Like I'm just gonna go for it. Like I'll figure it out. I believe in myself, right? And that came from the one thing that I had in my life was fitness. And everyone here, like I guarantee you have something. You have something that like you're the shit at. You're the best at. Like you pride yourself in it. I promise you. Like find it. And maybe it's not hard for you to find. Like that's where you're going to gain your bar belief. Like all the obstacles never comes. That's why I love working with successful people like entrepreneurs and people who have success is because like that, like I love to help them like see that connection between their bar belief they have over here. Like how it's really easy to just like borrow that faith, borrow that belief and put it over here. It's the same decision-making process. It's the same obstacles, the same hurdles. It's the same reasoning. It's just making that connection to be like, oh, duh. Right? That's really all it is. And so to put that in an example right now, it's like it's really heavy on mine. And I showed you guys this morning, but because fitness has always been the thing that's always been lead of the pack for me, like I told myself I was not consistent. Like I did not believe I was a consistent person for a very long time. And so especially like I actually noticed it really show up in my business and in my relationships. I just couldn't be consistent. And so that's where this idea of wanting to work out every single day actually stemmed from is very much what John said. It's like I couldn't see evidence over here. So I was like, but I know I can be consistent with my fitness. Right. And so that's what I did. I decided I was gonna work out every single day. I've now been working out for over 2 years straight, but it's also like that streak has helped me give me confidence to now eat the same thing for a year. And I told you guys this morning, it's also given me the confidence to do the breakthroughs every single day, the cold showers, the podcast, the sales training. Like it's giving me the confidence and the faith to know that I've been like that those things are going to happen. And like although they never happened before, I just know like I'm borrowing the belief over here that like I've done it, I've seen it. Like why wouldn't it work over here, right? And so I think that's my personal example of how I use the law of faith, and I use that borrow belief from other things I've been successful and I use that to just give myself like duh, like there's no way like actually, it's funny because I just finished my streak of eating the same thing every single day for a year. And there's a couple of times it's like, how could this actually end? Like, I just think about that. Like, I used to play a little defense too. And like, I couldn't find a way. With the workout streak though, I thought about it. And I was like, I could literally end up in a hospital from a car wreck. Like that was the thing I was like, that could potentially happen. But that's it. Nothing else would stop me. And so like, I didn't let that thought stand very long, but like, I thought about like, what is a way that this couldn't happen? And because I was just so like, I was just believing so much that thought quickly went away. And the whole time in the last 2 years, I literally have thought about this for a really long time. And like, if I had it, 2 or 3 things actually popped in my mind, I just like everything. Because I believe so much that I'm going to make it happen no matter what. So.
Yeah, I think that's fire. And I truly do believe that it's really important to do hard shit.
Yeah.
Like when you put that post up last night about going an entire year of eating the same thing and knowing the other things that you've done this last year. And also people ask me all the time, like, what's the benefit of competing in bodybuilding? Like, what's the benefit? And the benefits, I mean, I love it. It's fun, but it's really, really challenging. The real benefit is when you can go through those hard things and make it through. Oh my gosh, like a hard day at the office, a hard day with your spouse, or, you know, stress at work, a temptation, you know, a donut shows up. Those are easy, right? Because you've went through this crazy hard thing. Like I do believe a lot of like military boot camp, like that mentality, like to break. It's not just about breaking. It's about, hey, you went through hell for like 16 weeks. When you go out there, you're not going to be scared. That's literally our purpose, because now you have the belief in yourself because you went through some hard shit and you know you can trust yourself to finish the job. So I think there's more that goes into doing cool, hard stuff than just doing the hard stuff. There's a huge corollary to your self-worth.
100%. And so when those hard things do come up, get excited about it. Embrace it. It's like, dude, this is my opportunity. This is my chance. Shit, I had to work 60 hours this week. And I still got my workout in. I still stick to my meal plan. Like,
and you put yourself intentionally in hard stuff. Like, I'm going to wake up every single morning in Montana and take a cold shower.
Yeah. It's pretty cold.
You're looking for opportunities to put yourself in hard things.
Yeah. And I should piggyback on that. I don't want to go too far off topic on that, but because I should believe that hard shit's going to happen to you. Like, I think we all can agree with this. All hard shit was going to happen to you. And so if you can be in control of that hard shit, and you can give yourself the opportunity to learn from it and get that belief in yourself, when external hard shit happens to you, you're better at able to handle it, which is like what you said with the military is a great example. Like that's forced hard. And then we get into like a combat situation or just a life and death situation, all of a sudden you're able to handle it better because you already put yourself in the hard situation yourself. And now you're able to control it, and now you're able to handle your emotions better and then be more in control when external problems happen. Right? So yes, I'm a huge believer in that. John, anything else you want to add to that?
Honestly, no. You guys summed it up really well, and or not summed it up, but gave a lot of really important things to say. So I'm with you on all of it.
All right, so let's talk about some action steps. How do we use the law of faith, right? Really simply, I'm a big believer in writing your goals down, right? So write your goals down. What do you actually want? Get really clear on what you want. Ground, we talked about grounding before, so it's getting into your meditative state. It's getting into a place where you can actually be clear, right? Be clear with all the things that you need to do, all the tasks, the to-dos, the small trivial things, and get into a place where you can actually visualize those goals and see them happen. Like John talked about earlier, like put yourself in that moment where you see yourself, you know, being a person who is worth it, being a person who has lost 35 pounds. Like, what does that person look like? What are they doing? What are they wearing? How's that person feel? Right? Like, experience it, feel it, look at it. And then like live as if. Like, live as if it has happened, because again, that's the identity shift. This is where we talk about like being a wealthy body. Like, that's what wealthy bodies do. You're a wealthy body today. You live as if. You live as if you're already 30 pounds down. You live as if you're on the cover of a magazine. You live as if you're a healthy, fit person today. right? And then daily, consistently, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Anything else want to add to that?
Also, it's more so an addition, yeah, of not just live in a certain way, but also pay attention to what you say and the things that you convey to the world and put out in the world. Because if you are, let's say you're making this attempt to shift your identity to being a fit person, but you still say things like, oh, like, yeah, it's super hard, or I'm not sure I can do it. Like, not because not you don't have to be careful of that because it's necessarily incorrect, but it's not serving you to do those, and it's just say those things, and it's evidence that you're not convicted in your new beliefs. So if you find yourself with negative self-talk or just saying things that don't really align with what you want to believe, that can be a good way to catch yourself in the moment and say, okay, actually, let me rephrase that. Like, don't be afraid to change the wording of something you said to more properly align with what you want to be true. It's a really good way to yeah, you're almost visualizing it in that moment. Like, oops, that's not what a wealthy body would say. Like, let me change that again. That's something I do every single day. Like, if I say the word try, like, I'm trying to do this, like, no, I'm not. I'm doing this. And just little things like that make a big difference in the long run, because you can catch yourself doing that multiple times a day and do like a mini breakthrough in a half a second. It's really interesting, actually.
I just did that on this call. You guys heard me say try, and I changed it. And I tried to say try again. I said no, do, right? And it's important because like you're training your conscious mind to like be unconscious to just say the word do, right? And so it's ultimately like this battle between unconscious versus conscious. And so like John said, like it's not a bad thing. You just need to be like more aware that you are though, then you have the ability to change it. So all of a sudden you hear yourself complaining or saying was it don't oh actually like that doesn't serve me, right? That's my unconscious mind talking. Now I'm conscious of it. I change it. Boom, move on. And so I think that was really powerful, John. Tim,
Yeah,
what you got for us?
I love that both you guys said try, because as John was going through, I was like, that's literally my least favorite word, is the word try. Because every time you say try, it really means I'm giving myself permission to fail. It's kind of, what is that Yoda? Do or do not. There is no try.
Yeah.
That's cliche, but it's so true. So I'm glad you guys brought that up, because I love that. Second, I think the trip up is live as if. If you guys don't know what as if is, like we're talking about, let's say fitness, success leaves clues. You can find a role model. Like YouTube is chock full of role models. Look at what they do. And if you see common trends, there's a reason it's a common trend. For instance, fit people tend to get a lot of steps in every single day. That's indicative that they are active people. So if all the fit people all get 10,000 steps or more per day, maybe that's part of living as if. Maybe I should also, if I am a fit person, do what fit people do. Same with the way they eat, same with the way they dress, same with their daily routines, their commitment to themselves. Like all that stuff is important. I think what I'm getting at is if you don't know, look. Like, don't be afraid to look for role models, because success always leaves clues.
100%, exactly. And it's ultimately like, this is where I'll add on that too, because if you use the law of intuition, like if you actually take the time to actually think about it, like you know what a fit person does and what they look like. And if you don't, then you go find that information, like what Tim just said. Like you go find the fit person you know, and you start to see what they do. You start to see that they have a gym membership. You start to see that they buy good food, right? They buy whole foods. They buy single ingredient foods as a majority of their plan. They have coaches, right? Like they put money into supplements. They put money into coaching programs. Like where money goes, we go. And so you start to see that people buy fit stuff, right? And so when you start to look for that, all of a sudden you're like, okay, so if all I got to do is to be a fit person is like do what fit people do, then I guess I'll just do that.
Yeah, and
right? That's really all it is. And then do it for a long enough period of time that all of a sudden people start to ask you questions like, what are you doing? Oh, cool. Why do you do that? Right? Oh, because that's what people do. That's why I do that. So, and then just one more thing to add to this of writing down your goals, right? And so for me personally, like I like to write down lots of goals. If you just have one goal, that's great. I love to like write down all my goals and then actually visualize one goal. And so that's a little more tactics as well. But I love writing down my goals. I do it every single day, and it just keeps me reminded. It keeps it present. It keeps me focused on it, so I can look for evidence of it. So I have faith in that those things will come true. And so that's just a little tidbit of what I do with the goal setting every single day. And it's funny because actually, like as I was going back through my stuff to find out when all my things, like all my years of like the breakthroughs and the podcasts and the cold showers happened, I realized that even before I was doing breakthroughs, I was writing my goals down before that. And I started writing my goals down on Thanksgiving of 2019. So this will be 2 years that I've written my goals down every single day from like Thanksgiving 2019. So anyway, like those are just little things that, and it's funny to look at my goals back then and I look at them now and like there actually is a couple that are still on there, which I don't know if that's good or bad, but because they haven't been accomplished yet, but they are big goals. But there is a lot of things that have happened along that way too. I'm just like, oh, cool. Like, it actually happened. Like that's pretty sweet, you know. So it actually does work. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that if you just do it consistently, it doesn't take that long. And it doesn't like this really drawn out process. It really doesn't, especially when you're doing daily. Like it's literally just like what comes to you. Like trust your intuition, which was again something I've done before. Like trust it. Just write it down. It doesn't have to make sense. It's not going to make sense. Just write it down. And some things come, some things go, some things stick, some things like are there for like a couple of days and then never see them again. And so like there's no such thing as right or wrong, but just by doing it, you actually learn a lot about what you want in life, which makes it really easy for you to make decisions, which ultimately is what this truly is all about, is making the right decisions. So
And I think it might be important to kind of talk about how you write your goals, like the language that you use in writing your goals. So Logan, how do you write your goals? We'll just leave it open.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. So
the word that you use.
You write as if, right? So it's like I am, like for instance, like I am driving a black C8 Corvette. I am living in a $2 million home. I have it already, right? So you're writing them down as if, not like I'm going to, or I will, or I want. These are all words that you don't have faith in these goals. So great point, Tim.
Yeah,
you're writing them down as if.
Harkens back to identity. I am is an identifier.
I've already done it. I've eaten the same meal every single day for a year, which by the way was on my 2021 goal check. So check that off, right? And so like I've done it already. Boom, accomplished. So awesome. All right, guys. Well, hey, appreciate you guys all listening here. Appreciate John and Tim for your insights. And Law of Faith was a fun one. It was awesome. And so we'll be back next week with some more laws. But until then, Mr. John Bodner, and Tim Cruz, I appreciate you guys. Happy Wednesday, and we'll be back next week.
See ya.